Hi, this is Lou with MeterBuilder. In this video we're going to show how to do backup and restore operations for your EEPROM settings. Fairly straightforward. First we go to the downloads page, Terraterm 464. This is a terminal emulator that, in addition to providing a terminal emulation function, also supports a macro language, and all of the PC utilities that the MB1 uses are written in that macro language. So we'll go ahead and save that file in a MB1 directory I created on my C drive. Okay, we're in that directory. Let me just unzip that file and extract its contents. Okay, and here's the install executable. Let's go ahead and install Terraterm. And you get the normal stuff that you see with an install program. Now this is important. Here Terraterm is asking us what we want to install. You see that the Terraterm macro is selected by default, and nothing else should be selected. That's all we need. Pick the language and create shortcuts as desired, and we can go ahead and install. Okay, we can finish it. On your PC you'll have a couple of shortcuts. It's asking us if we want to launch the program now. Okay, now Terraterm is running. We have to pick the serial option. Pick whatever COM port is appropriate to your machine. And the only other thing we have to do to set up Terraterm to run properly is to pick the setup option. And for the serial port, the only thing we have to change is the bit rate to 115,200 bits per second, and we're all set. Terraterm is now ready to run. Okay, there's one other download we need. We have Terraterm that can run the macros, but we also need to download the macros themselves. So let me save this in a different directory, a backups directory I created under the MB1 directory. Another zip file. Don't know if you can see that. Let me go ahead and extract. Okay, now these TTL files, these are the actual macro files, and when you do a backup or restore, you'll use one of these two files, and these will be run with Terraterm, and that's what we'll be showing in the rest of the video. Okay, we've got everything running more or less. These are the settings that we're going to back up and then attempt to restore. That's set to peak power, coupler number, min-max. I've got the analog meter running, and you can see that we also have set up panel meter 3. If you can see in the background there, we have the Dewa meter running as well. We have the large 7-segment display. The exercise will be to back up the settings now for this current configuration, and then we'll trash the settings, and with the backup file that we created during the backup, we'll make an attempt to restore these settings. Okay, to do a backup, we have to use the down or up scroll button to pick the appropriate menu, and we'll do that to pick the EEPROM backup menu. And this is what we want to do. We want to do an EEPROM backup. So to start that, we hit option 2, start, MB1 is telling us that it's ready to do the backup and it's just waiting for the PC interface to start communicating. So we'll go back to the PC screen and show what we have to do there. Okay, as you recall, we have TerraTerm running. So being that we have the macro utilities unpacked, we go ahead and all we have to do in the control menu is pick macro, go to the directory where we've just downloaded the two utilities, and let me use the backup utility. Again, I'm in the backup operation at this point. It's asking me if I want to proceed with backup operations. I already have the MB1 primed. I hit the start button, so I can go ahead. And what you're seeing now is all of the EEPROM data being loaded from MB1 to a file on the PC. Okay, this takes well, okay. Here's a success indicator. So we're basically done. And let's go into the backup utilities, and we can see that we now have an MB1 user data file, and this is the data file that we're going to save for a subsequent setup. When MB1 recognizes that the backup is done, it'll give you a done message and indicate that you can hit any menu button to proceed. Okay, and at that point MB1's back to its normal operation. But we have a backup of the settings, so if we accidentally erase a table or change some settings and just want a clean restore, we can go ahead and do that. Let me turn off D1 and D2. D4 and D5. You can see over there D5 is the large display. I'll turn that off as well. Let me go ahead with the bar graph, and I'll turn off the bar graph on both devices. Okay, I still have the simulator running, as you can see here. I had panel meter 5 selected. So let me go ahead and in panel meter 1 go into the setup mode. Let me select panel meter 1 and let me erase it. Okay, so I've just blown that away. That's gone. Let me exit to get out of there. And you can see P1 not calibrated. So when I go into the panel meter menu, I'm able to pick P3 and P5, but P1 is no longer present. And let me go into the coupler menu. You can see that I have couplers, all 4 couplers. Let me go ahead and destroy one of the coupler tables. Okay, let me go ahead and pick coupler 1. Let me select that. Coupler 1 settings previously saved. Do you want to erase them? And I'll say yes. The next opportunity I have, I can exit. So you can see when I pick the coupler settings, coupler 1 is no longer available. So I've basically modified and trashed the settings pretty well. And this is basically simulating a situation where you might have inadvertently erased a calibration table or for the panel meter or coupler. And as you saw, you could put 15 minutes into that, and you'd really like the ability to back it up. So let's go ahead and see how we do that. Okay, we use the same menu, the EEPROM backup menu, but this time, instead of backup user memory, I'm going to pick the EEPROM restore user memory. I'm going to hit start to prime it. Okay, please wait. And that MB1 is telling us that it's now in a mode where it's ready to proceed with the restore operation. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we have to do on the PC. Okay, I'm ready to restore the settings, but the first thing I want to do is just remind us that here's where the two macros are that we're using for the backup and restore, and here's the data file. So these all have to be in the same directory. It could be any directory, but they all have to be in the same directory. Okay, I brought TerraTurn back up, and again I'm going to use the macro function. I go to Control, Macro, and it remembered the previous directory I used. Instead of user backup, I'm going to do a user restore operation now, and it's asking me for confirmation. I'll go ahead and say yes. And the A characters are basically acknowledgement characters that the MB1 is sending back to the PC. The hex data you saw before is being transmitted from the PC to MB1, and there are some checksums in there, and the A is basically an acknowledgement that each line is being read properly. And the restore operation takes approximately the same amount of time as the backup operation. Okay, operation was successful, so we're basically done. Let's go ahead and see what the MB1 is saying. And similar to before, it's basically saying done. Hit any menu to continue. So we'll do that. Okay. One thing that you have to remember is once you do a restore operation, to have those settings go back into effect, you do have to do a power cycle. Because even though you've updated EEPROM, you haven't updated the working memory and RAM. Okay? So what you're seeing there is the settings that we had before. Let me go ahead and put the simulator on. So it looks like we're back in the same situation we were at before. Remember we erased panel meter 1. Let's see if panel meter 1 comes back to life. Okay, our panel meter 1 table is restored. And let's go ahead and check our couplers to see if we have a coupler. Okay, and we indeed do have our coupler table restored for coupler 1. So pretty handy, and it's, as usual, it's simpler than I made it sound. So once you've got some time invested in setting up a couple of calibration tables, I recommend that you do this procedure. Okay, hope this was helpful. And again, if you have any questions, the email address is support@MeterBuilder.com. Thanks for dropping by.